Great, great, great. Good afternoon, good morning, good day, depending on what part of the world you're logging in from. This is the Strengths Discussion Series, and today we have a special guest. She's right here in the hallway. I'm bringing her up shortly. So let's get this going. Okay, so technical, can we have our guest profile up? Okay, I have my guest in the house, and I'll just read out her profile. She is a Gallup certified strength coach. Innocente is the founder of PerformForward. The company name honors the forward-focused approach she developed based on over 20 years of business experience in various disciplines, including psychology, human resource consulting, organizational development, internal communication, customer service, project management, and marketing. She's also a business coach and an eternal learner who believes that continual improvement and a growth mindset provides for endless opportunity in life. Innocente is also the host of the Performance Cafe YouTube channel, and she lives with her two dogs who allow her to sleep in a big bed and sit on the couches. Ladies and gentlemen, Innocente is a human capital performance consultant, a Gallup certified strength coach, an inspired leader, reseller, and facilitator, and remote work evangelist. She's energetic without a doubt, enthusiastic both on and off camera as a speaker, an MC, panelist, and interviewer. Innocente is enthusiastically working towards unlocking potential and human performance capacity in businesses and uses her energy very effectively on stage to help reach this goal. Audiences appreciate her talk for their practical approach and ability to perform or transform complex ideas into user-friendly content and guidelines. Ladies and gentlemen, with a rousing virtual round of applause, please welcome our coach, our guest, Innocente Boga. Yes, 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 yes. Can I see my guest? I hope our camera is on. Whoa, okay. Where? Oh, okay. Apologies. I think we, okay. Guest is in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep this going.
Hi, Oluseyi. Hi, all the guests of Strengths Africa. It is amazing to be here with you.
Awesome, awesome, great, great. Reading your profile, and I'm just amazed. And first of all, how's it at Cape Town? And you look awesome. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, so tell me what's going on in Johannesburg? How is it in Johannesburg this afternoon?
It is going very well. It is raining work, and that's our favorite kind of rain. So no, it's actually a sunshiny day. It's very cold, sunshiny day, but all is well here. And yes, it's exciting times here. Lots happening.
Good, good, good. Okay, just before we go on, I love that part of your profile that talked around your two dogs. Tell me about them.
Right, so I've got a little whippet and I've got a little Italian greyhound, and they're at school right now, which is why I can talk to you like a grown-up and I don't have them interrupting me. I love the greyhound breeds, and I've owned them since about 2004, yes.
Whoa, whoa, they must be great company.
I am. You're supposed to say I'm great company, not the dogs.
Sorry about that. All right. But yes, you said it that you're a great company, but I think they must be great company.
No, they are great. They are great company.
Awesome. So PerformForward, great to have you here. Innocent, I just love the energy you bring. When I was reading your profile, there's a word that describes you as energetic and enthusiastic. I'm like, without a doubt, nobody needs to even doubt that. But I'm sure by the time we're done on this side of the show for today, people would also agree with that fact that you're not just only energetic, you're enthusiastic. So, but yeah, welcome. And for those that are joining, this is the Strength Africa Strength Discussion Series. It holds every Thursday, 2 p.m. West African time. And depending on the part of the world you're in, we encourage people to log in. Now, the discussions revolves around, discovering, all right, developing and, deploying strengths for effective, all right, growth and performance. And we have our guest here, Innocente, and she brings so much. She brings so much to bear. Now, Innocente, I recall our discussions earlier on. We talked about something that's very salient. Do you want to please share your journey, all right, your strengths journey? How did you stumble about into this strengths journey discussion? And let's learn from you, and maybe someone will take something from there.
Wonderful, thank you. So I actually studied psychology, and I used to be a registered psychometrist. And at a stage, I let that go. I love psychology, but I didn't get to study it much further. And then in around 2018, someone said to me, oh, there's this stuff. So I've always loved positive psychology. But when I studied psychology, positive psychology was fairly new. So it didn't show up too much in our studies. And I was on this kick for positive psychology, and I was asked to join a talk and heard about strengths. I thought it was fabulous. I went and I had my strengths done. And I looked at this profile and I thought, this isn't me, because it said I had a lot of strategic thinking. And I thought, that's not me. No ways. I'm the executor. I'm the person that gets the job done. But I never realized how exhausted and drained I was, because I was never getting opportunity to think. It was always just go and deliver. But I then sat with a Gallup coach and spoke through my strengths. And they said an interesting thing. They said to me, what were you like at school? Were you always like this high achiever, delivery? And I said to them, no, not at all. School was not my favorite place to be from an academic perspective. I loved the social perspective, because I kept on staring out of the window and I wasn't paying attention in class. And the teacher was like, I was all over the show. And I was the one that got the school reports. Innocente has so much potential, but she doesn't show up in class and she does not apply herself. And so from that perspective, I had a fairly negative thinking of myself as an intellectual being until I got to university, where, of course, I was riveted and I was studying psychology and things changed. And my coach said to me, isn't it interesting that even at school, you could see you had strategic thinking? And I said to him, no, I was thinking all over the show. He says, yes, that's the point. He says, because the teacher wanted you to learn and to parrot. But actually what you had done was you were listening and building other ideas and thoughts and creating different contexts and concepts. He says, so you were playing with ideas. He says, and that's what strategic thinking is when we look at the Clifton strengths. And since then I was hooked. I became a strengths coach in South Africa. And then that was 2018 still. And then last year, I became a Gallup Global Strengths coach, because I was just blown away by what we could do.
Amazing. I love that phrase, that you shared with me earlier on, that you try to situate strengths as contributing, one piece at a time to developing society. Can you please let us into that, that phrase, as to one strength at a time?
Okay, so what I said was I was making the world a better place, one strength at a time, because what happens is I get hired by a business or by an individual to assist them. And although they pay me to help them with their problem, because they are developing, because they are growing, they are improving, and they are improving their way that they relate to other people and those around them. But that's not just at work. It's in their lives. It's in their communities. So I get paid to help them, but actually it pays forward because in helping them develop, it actually has a knock-on effect to spouses and children and employees and family and communities. So in essence, every time we talk about even just one strength, we're making the world a better place for everyone.
Okay, so let's talk a bit around the positive psychology. So we hear positive psychology, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, hey, is there a negative psychology? Well, we would, if you have time, you can talk around that. But so what's the, alignment between positive psychology and strengths, the old strengths philosophy?
Yes. So actually, the negative psychology is regular psychology, because until the 70s, you saw a psychologist because you were crazy or mad. You had a diagnosable disease on the DSM-3. But positive psychology in 1970, about Martin Seligman is the father of positive psychology.
Seligman,
yes, love his work. And what he said is, what if we caught people doing things right? What if instead of finding wrong and working with that, we say, what do you have and how do we help you make more of it? And of course, he and Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the father of flow, they sent us on a different avenue where they said, let's help you make more of who you are, not see you as less and try and fix you. And so when we take a look at strengths, we say, I want to see what your strengths are, not to deny your weaknesses, but to help you grow what you're really good at. Because if you think about it, if there's something like I'm passionate about reading, and you can teach me almost anything if you just give me a darn book, because I love reading. So now, if you tell me I want you to go and listen to audio tapes about it, it's actually quite difficult for me because I'm a visual learner. So why not let me do it the way that I'm good at it while I keep developing? So a very interesting thing happened. The research has actually been duplicated a couple of times over the years, but I think the earliest versions of it also came from the 40s, 50s, where they took a bunch of university students and they had them do a speed reading test. They then took them and put them into the slow reader group and the fast reader group. They then took both groups and they put them through the training to speed read. Now, we would assume that, the fast readers did a bit better. The slow readers did a lot better. Actually, the exact opposite happened. The slow readers read a little bit faster. The fast readers read unimaginably fast. Because when I want to take out money to develop someone, it is better for return on investment, for stress, for longevity of the learning, if I teach someone something using their strengths or I enhance their strength. And that is why we use strengths instead of trying to fix what's broken, where people perpetually feel I'm not good enough because I'm never, ever able to do this thing right.
And that's one of the things that we constantly emphasize, on the program, where we talk around ensuring that you discover your strength, you deploy to the best of your ability, rather than trying to, yes, you should improve yourself when it comes to your skills, but there are just certain things that are given that you probably also cannot alter. And I love the way you described it. We all have the way we, appropriate our strengths or our learnings in able to perform better. Okay, so there's this thing that I caught in your profile, and this ties up with the new reality. And when we talk about the new reality, I see that you're an evangelist of remote working, remote work as whatever is applicable. So tell us a bit about this, and why are you advocating for this? Because COVID happened, a lot changed, but it's almost like things have been expanded and they cannot really come back. So, but can you tell us what you perceive to be the future of work? The future of work.
Well, I think I have an unfair advantage because in 2004, I started working in a virtual capacity. I worked for a company in Joburg. We were global. And I worked there for about 13, 14 years. And in that time, I never once, well, I lied, twice, I actually met the clients that I was working with. The rest of the time, we were working virtually. And it's absolutely amazing because when you are working virtually, you are forced to take accountability for yourself. A lot of people go, I don't want my people to work virtually because who knows what they'll get up to. Well, at work, people get up to nonsense only because they've got a manager staring over their shoulder. And there's sort of enough of a safety barrier there that they know they can only get up to so much of it before someone's going to push them back. When they work from home, if they don't show up, if they don't do the work they're supposed to do, then actually it's their own accountability. And it does take a while. It's a big shift to work from home when you're used to working at the office, and especially like I did, where I was working with clients that are remote, that were on different continents. But I really think that there's a lot to be said for remote work. I personally love the hybrid model where we spend 2 or 3 days a week at work and the other days we work from home. The reason why I like this is I think it actually deals very well and supports the diversity of thought of people. So I can be quite extroverted. If I was to work from home alone the whole time, I would find that frustrating eventually. But because I'm extroverted, I win from the discipline of not having people in my house, and I'm not interrupting others' work, and I'm not there for them to interrupt mine. From an introvert's perspective, it's exhausting for them to be around people the whole time. So you take them and you put them in the office a couple of days a week, and yes, that drains them, but they know they can bank on 2 days a week or 3 days a week at home where they can then focus the way they should. That way, we get the ideal mix of, yes, people still see each other while they actually do have time apart. And I certainly think that with the appropriate management style, and I think that's actually what kills remote work, is if people don't have an appropriate leadership style or management style, I think that's what creates the problems with people working from home.
Wow. So, what do you think is the future of work, right now? Are you saying, is this a likely trend that would, linger on, and then we will just so tell us what you think.
So I do think we're going to get into these hybrid models, or at least lots of remote work. The reason for that is that we see that the millennials think about work a bit differently from the rest of us. I just told you how old I am if I'm not a millennial. And what they do is they see work differently. They don't necessarily go for work-life balance because they just believe it's all one big bubble of interest. And so for them to go to an office necessarily every single day just to be there because the boss is going to look over their shoulder doesn't make sense. They want to work for a company that has a purpose that makes sense for them. Once they've connected their purpose to the company's purpose, there is an intrinsic motivation for them to keep going. And with technology, there's then no reason for them not to work from home. And so I think they're going to really change the way that we work and really support this work from home. And I actually think that working from home, at least to some extent, even if it's in a hybrid model, is going to become an employer of choice thing. I think people are going to, if they don't allow it, they're not going to get the best of best employees going forward.
Wow. So this, but how do you deal with complacency? How do you deal with, lackadaisical attitude with regards to output and outcomes? How do you manage those things? Because you see, the average man or woman is such that you can be lazy, okay? There's a propensity to be lazy. Now, sometimes, just coming out of that seeming cocoon or comfort zone, is able to propel people to work. Okay, so what kind of strategies would there be, that you think can easily help people be able to morph readily into playing that role, effectively, that they will do whilst they move to a physical location that they can achieve while remotely working at home?
So I'd like to question the assumption that people are inherently lazy.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm old school, and go ahead.
So I think I hear it a lot, and I get it a lot. I really understand, because I've worked with, for, and had working for me people that we could tag as inherently lazy. So I think that the reason why people are lazy is because we're not speaking to their hearts and souls. Simon Sinek says, you should get people to work for you that believe what you believe, because then they'll work for you with their blood, their sweat, and their tears. And if they don't believe what you believe and you're hiring to do a job, they'll work for you for your money. And I think too long, and it's almost this industrial era thing where people would pitch up at work and they'd say, just press that button, just press that button, don't think, don't question, just do that thing. And I think for too long, we've left ourselves at the door of the office. I think if you invite that person and their whole self into the office, and you get to actually know them and show some form of professional care for them, you'll get to know who this person is. I already know, and we've only met once before, I already know how to motivate you, because I understand what your top 5 strengths are. That, along with purpose, with meaning. If I'm saying to you, if I said to you, I'd like you to come and manage a company for me, that's one thing. If I said to you, I want you to help me, we're going to make the world a better place, which advertisement would you go for?
Make the world a better place. Yeah.
Exactly. Because we are social beings. We actually don't want to be lazy. We want to be part of the group. And to be part of the group, we have to perform. Because our limbic brains, our caveman brains still think that if we're not part of the group, we're not going to get fed. And so I actually don't think people are lazy. I think people are so used to being downtrodden and not seeing their real value really appreciated that they go, this company doesn't see me. I'll give you an example. I worked at a company where we had a cleaner. Her name was Mabuse. And Busi was a cleaner. That's what she was. She kept the kitchen. But you know who people went to when they were in trouble? They went to Busi. And I'm talking about every color and every gender, because she was a pastor in her church.
Whoa.
And when we went to her with our troubles, she was in her 60s by that time. Her clarity, her wisdom. So we saw that. We saw that. And so from that perspective, the company then realized, hold on, we can do more here because people are going to Mabuse. What more can we do to engage this person? But I think just too many of us go, just the cleaner, just the janitor, just the person who you've got a nice university degree. I'm going to pay you just to do that. They don't see the heart and soul of the person.
Wow. And, I'm guilty of that, and you see, these things have been learned, so we need to constantly unlearn some of those things that we passed down. I recall reading a book, and that book kind of almost rendered me useless, lack of a better description. And then I came in contact with another book, The Mafia Manager. And it was almost like the only way you can get, or The Art of War, the only way you can get people to give you results is when they are stern. Anyway, I morphed from that, and then I started to become all-embracing, somewhat, emotionally aware and intelligent. But I'm still on that journey. So I'll still be coming back to you to give me those prescriptions, almost like you gave the other day, as to how best to start to morph into being a really, a dynamic leader that is conscious about the spirit of the team and is able to sell them a story like Simon. All right, Sinek says, look, give them a compelling reason to follow.
Believe.
Yeah, and then they'll move on that journey.
Perfect.
Wow, there's a question. Okay, go ahead.
So I have a plenary talk that I give, and it's called Thank God It's Monday, 3 ways to go from manic to magic. And in that talk, and I believe that's what you're referring to, is in that talk, we speak about aligning with people's purpose, giving them meaning in their job, and giving them intrinsic motivation. And there's 3 ways that we do this. The first way is to create incredible clarity. We often say, oh, my team knows what they're doing. They understand the tactics of what they do. They know they've got to come to work, they've got to put on their computers, they have to access certain systems, and while they're in the certain systems, certain things have to happen. But at the same time, they don't have an idea of how their purpose aligns with the business's purpose, how what they're doing creates meaning in their life, and therefore they have no motivation to go forward. So without clarity, there can be no alignment, there can be no connection. And the problem is that alignment is everything. So we need to have them aligned. The second thing is that we actually want to kill consistency. Now, when I say this, all managers want to burn down the house because they say, well, we need to be consistent. And I go, yes, we need to be consistent in setting expectations, and we need to be consistent in how we hold people accountable. However, how people go about doing their work, that must allow for a certain amount of inconsistency, because different people have different views, they have different strengths, they have different levels of expertise, and so we should let them decide the how we get there. So first, they know exactly where they're going. Secondly, they have autonomy in how they get there. And thirdly, we have productive kindness. And productive kindness is so central. Uli, you and I spoke about it earlier. Your country is going through some stuff. The world is going through COVID. And I keep on getting the question from managers, when can I stop being compassionate, and when can we get back to full productivity? And actually, I think that if expectations are clear, if we let people choose the how, so that they use their own strengths to find the shortest route to give us a superior product, then I've got what I call productive kindness, where we can say to them, because we can have an adult chat with them and say to them, right, Uli, you said you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Where are we with it? And you can still hold them accountable. But when you then come to me and you say to me, I'm having a bad day, or my family's having a bad day, I trust that you are going to give the best you can, and you will catch up, or you will arrange with teammates to get it done, or whatever the case may be, because you're not going to drop the ball, because your purpose, your meaning, and your motivation is connected in service to the role.
Wow. So I take that again. So there's the clarity of expectation. There's the autonomy, as in to kill consistency. And then there's the third bit around, productive kindness. Okay. And I'm sure a lot of people, and so in case you're just joining us, this is the Strength Discussion series, and I have a special guest, Innocente, and she has been taking us on this journey. And I'm sure this journey is taking us also along the lines of leading emerging leaders track, which we'll get into. But I think there's a question in the house. Someone is asking, what are your top 5 strengths? Top 5 strengths. What are your top 5 strengths? So I could quickly run through, because we've had some of these discussions before. She's with input, she's got strategic, she's got ideation, futuristic, and she's a relator. Now, in one of our top 10, I think she has communication. So yes, she does that succinctly well. And without a doubt, I'm sure everybody will agree with that. So yeah, I'm reading out again. She has input, she has strategic, she has ideation, futuristic, and relator. And she leads with the strategic thinking. Whoa, and that makes the two of us, all right? Yeah, shout out to strategic thinkers, right? So, but let's even now go into that understanding that, yes, there are leaders and there are managers, but what happens to the builder? There's a track, okay? How have you been able to help people perform forward, almost like the name of your company, in the wise where they're able to improve themselves and brace up to responsibilities in the future? Tell us some of the winning strategies.
Thank you. I'm so excited, because this is something that's incredibly close to my heart. I know I'm only 16, but I've been around for a couple of decades. And one of the biggest heartbreaks for me is people who tell me, I'm not a good leader, I'm not a good manager. And then when you speak to them, then they say, oh, no, when I had my first management job, when I had my first leadership role, it went really bad and, people didn't like me and I wasn't good at it. And so they said to me, it's not part of my skill set. So I find what happens is we've got a very big, almost like an oversupply of training for individuals who are already managers and, to enhance their management. But what happens at the lower levels is this person does really well and they're doing well, and then we make them a team lead and then we make them a manager. The fact that they might be doing technically well and that they don't know how to manage people or don't have the people, sort of like high relationship building skills and stuff, that puts them at risk because now all of a sudden they've got to manage people when they'd rather be doing the work themselves. So I'm part of a group called Inspired Leadership. And we have a leadership development program that I'm so passionate about because we have an emerging leader path. So what happens is when someone has been highlighted through succession planning, or if you've got a technical specialist that on the odd occasion has to manage a project, or if you've got a manager or who hasn't been doing great, but he's more technically or she is more technically inclined, we put them on this emerging leader path and we teach them leadership skills before they need it. That way, when they finally do get the promotion and they do get the badge, they've been managing smaller teams. They've been managing informally because one of the units actually is leading without authority. So without having, a title or anything to it. Man, oh man, it is just amazing. And I'm busy taking an extraordinarily young group of interns through it. And just to see their growth even and to see them and how they grow and how they interact with each other already, it's fabulous.
Now, you've breezed through it, and I want us to richly just delve into this in its own intent and purpose. And I know you have a knack for purpose discovery and helping people find meaning. Now, almost merging with some of the things you discussed about the, thank God it's Monday, right? I'm right? Thank God it's Monday.
Yes,
yeah.
Thank God it's Monday.
Thank God it's Monday. One of the scariest days of the week, all right, for any employee or for, a business owner is Monday, okay? Because you're like, oh, we're back to the same thing. And this portends two things. Is either there isn't enough engagement or excitement in the organization, or people just are overwhelmed, okay? Now, can you help anybody on the set right now, listening, and those that will be watching the replay, and please get ready for your questions, to help paint the tripod around purpose, around meaning, around the intuitive, intrinsic motivation and all of that. So just take us on that journey. And I'm sure we have a few people in-house, and anybody that has questions could just drop and we'll be taking that on. So please, Innocente, take it on.
Wonderful. So, well, I'm so sorry, guys, but here comes your lecture in psychology. Thankfully, it's not a Friday afternoon. So I think around 1945, Viktor Frankl, the famous psychologist, wrote his book, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes.
Now, during that process, that memoir of his is actually a history of him being in 4 different Nazi prison camps. And in that time, he lost his father, his mother, his brother, as well as his pregnant wife. And I think we all would like, how do you get through that? And he said, we cannot avoid suffering, but all that we can do is to find renewed purpose and meaning in our lives after this. So really understanding what this thing was that happened, how did it impact us, and how do we go forward from there? So for me, that reaches to purpose, if I know where I'm going, I can take almost anything. If I just know what my purpose is, I can take suffering for that. We see it in, for example, books like The Tattooist of Auschwitz, where a Jew actually took on the job of tattooing the number on the wrists of people's of the Jewish people's arms. And people called him a traitor. And in the book, he writes, actually, I did it because I tried to make it so that it doesn't hurt that much. That was his purpose, to not hurt people. And that carried him through an entire war. The second one is Martin Seligman. I do have a psychology crush on him. And he spoke in the early 70s about this concept of positive psychology. And as part of it, he said, hold on, if we can help people make meaning of their lives, we can do a couple of things. Firstly, we can help people with mental disorders. That's one thing. The other thing is we can help people make meaning of their lives. And because of that, we can make them happier and more productive. Okay? So we have purpose, we have meaning. And then I've already alluded to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the father of flow, who described for us the optimal level of concentration and engagement that we have with a topic, and that we get so engaged. Some people informally call it, we go down the rabbit hole. You know, you start that thing, that piece of work, and you're loving it, and you're just enjoying it so much that you don't even realize time is passing, you don't realize you haven't eaten. Now that's intrinsic motivation. You're just motivated to keep going. So that is where I find my three pillars of purpose, meaning, and motivation. And all of this actually sprouted from my frustration with how poorly we deal with diversity of thought, action, and beliefs sort of in organization. Because of the Industrial Revolution and the way that people were employed.
I just came up with an acronym called TABS. So when we don't deal with the TABS, that's the thought, actions, and beliefs, then we get flustered, and we get battered.
There we go. Yes.
Actions and beliefs.
Actions and beliefs. Yes.
Awesome. Now we have a question from YouTube. Yes, we're streaming live to YouTube and other channels. And we have this question. Someone says that I have seen the switch from strength to talent. What is the difference between a talent and a strength?
Beautiful question. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know who asked that, but thank you so much. So our strengths, the basis for our strengths is laid down in our formative years. We believe, behavioral psychologists have believed forever, that sort of in the first 7 years of your life, pretty much a lot of you, your personality, who you are and how you see the world is laid down. At that age, we have talents. You have the child that always asks why? Well, that child is asking why because they're expressing a talent. Now, if that child does not develop that talent, they'll always just keep asking why forever. If that talent matures into a strength, then that child will start asking, why does this and how does it? And they become more analytical. So the only difference between a talent and a strength is the level of maturity. Now, how do I mature a talent? Well, you add skills, experience, and knowledge. We learn about it, we do it, we actually flesh it out. Now, when we are lucky, which I think many of us are in this day and age, we get asked, what do you want to do in life? We sort of will have an idea of those talents and we'll go and do some work that actually aligns with it. And that is how those talents get developed. If you get someone who's got talents and that have never been developed, those people have never had the opportunity to self-manage their career progress or even their learning at a younger age.
Wow. Now, so you mean, so talents are the way we are naturally, and then strengths to the point where you are decided to develop and focus. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So if you have a talent as a child for analytic thinking, it can remain immature into adult life. But if you add skills and experience and learning and stuff on top of it, then it develops into a fully formed analytic strength for analytical thinking.
Wow, awesome. Now, so I'm sure whoever asked that question, you heard it from the coach herself, and I couldn't have said it better. And awesome, awesome, awesome. So back to the audience in the house. We have people in the Zoom room right now. So you could unmute yourself if you have any questions or comment. How's it been? Let's have your thoughts as to today's discussion with the Innocent coach, the coach Innocent.
One with a halo.
Yeah. Well, so there's the Fatai Talabi, there's Boo Baby, Chukwemeka. Let's have your thoughts. Ben, let's have your thoughts. There's Ronelle. Ronelle is one of us, she just keeps showing up. I love her spirit, yeah, great, great, great. So questions. But whilst we wait for questions, there's something about the strategy for the employee, okay? The strategy for employee with regards to performing, productivity, profit. Because one of the key drivers of any organization, is cash, is income, profit. But somehow, I hear some people say, hey, you guys are just talking hogwash, okay? How does this tie into this whole thing? Because businesses are set up to make money. How does it tie in? How does this tie in? So can you please talk around that? And whilst you're, okay, yeah, so go on ahead, because another question just dropped in, and then we would, yes.
So I think that there's a big move around this concept of conscious leadership. But the book that came before that, and I'm sorry, I'll have to check on my phone because my book is on Audible, is a book called Conscious Capitalism. And capitalism actually got destroyed by humans. Because conscious capitalism actually started saying, hold on, they're people and they need goods and services. And there are people who who run businesses, who can sell this to them. And these people can then give money to employees. And it's almost like a little cycle, is that I need the consumer to need the product. So I better build a good product so that I can run my business and pay my employees. And I'm quite outspoken about that I don't think we should fight companies becoming wealthy and profitable because they ensure our sustainability. I think they must just not do it to the disadvantage of employees, society, morals, ethics, and little things like that. And so what happens there is there has to be this win-win-win formula between consumer, employee, and business owner. And the business owners need to have a really clear strategy that the employees can align with. And again, it's a case of we're aligning purposes here. I'm not going to go and work for a company that I think that would do damage to the environment because it means too much to me. But the company should have a strategy and not one that's up on an executive's wall somewhere in the boardroom where no one ever goes. There should be a strategy, but the strategy is the nascence. It's the first step. From the strategy, we need to boil it down to different levels. And that strategy must make sense to each individual employee as well.
So from strategy, we move on to goals, all right?
Yes.
Or tactics that can vary, but the overall vision remains consistent. And that ties into what you were talking earlier on about having a compelling reason, all right? A buy-in, all right, on the side of your teammates. So if you're just joining us, my coach, all right, Innocent, has been taking us on a roller coaster of some sort. We started off the journey talking around our dogs. We went on to, disputing our age as per, she's actually 21, but, if you're in doubt, then you could ask for a birth certificate. And then we moved on to some, around positive psychology. We delved into areas around, clarity of expectations we've moved around defining the need to somehow kill consistency just so that it doesn't become, a rhetoric over time, and people can deploy themselves appropriately and using their unique strengths ensure that we get results. And then ultimately, she used the word that is profound. She called it the productive kindness, or kindness should be part of the norm. I've also seen her delve in this discussion where we've had to, distinguish between talents and strengths. We took it a step further where she's also taking us around that insatiable search for man's, meaning on the part of man. And when we talked around purpose, meaning, and, motivation. Now, there's something she started to delve in as to, and I know everyone is concerned about this. We talked about the money matter. This is something that, is easier said than done, but the guy that is paying the check, just must get the business going. Now, so she's dropped something else also saying, look, there seems to be a failure of capitalism, and I don't know if anybody agrees with this. I have to go and do a research on this because, I would definitely have to just go and do my own research on this, But look, guys, if you have any questions, you can see Innocente is not just a coach, she's a reader, all right? She's just been dropping, book titles and all that. But at some point, I always thought I could almost conclude that you're on an affiliate program, selling books and, No, but
maybe I should tell them about myself.
Yeah, but and somehow you and I should work together on a book, and maybe that could also, become a bestseller, because I love the way you've been dropping these books. Maybe we could just converge all of this into something. So, hey, audience, it would be nice to have your thoughts. If you're just joining us, somebody is saying that I'm going back now, there's a question. Somebody says, okay, I'm going to go to Ronel's question, but someone says that when is it advisable for children to take the strength test? Okay, when is it advisable for children to take the strength test? And then I'm sure that, do you want to take that on? And then I'll read the second question.
Okay, perfect. So honestly, I don't have the best answer for you because I don't work with children. I know that we would use the Strengths Finder from sort of like postgrad, when they leave school on. Yeah. I know that there is, Oli, I don't know if you know the one, there is one for children.
Yeah, there's a Discovery Finder. Yes.
Discovery Finder, yes. Yeah. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Do you know from what age?
Oh, yeah, so I think from about 9 there to about 12 or 13, and that just works. But like we said, if you really want to, then just my teammates will drop a link, and then they would be able to send you all the details. So Strengths Africa team, drop the link for the strengths test, so just so that they can have clarity, and then we can take the discussion forward. Now, Ronel is saying, working in the medical arena, where hybrid working is on the wish list, as they are all overwhelmed. No time to invest in strength training at the moment. What advice do you have to make a difference right here now? Okay, I don't know if you got that question. She's in the medical arena.
Yes.
Hybrid working seems to be a wish list. It's almost impossible. Okay, and there's no time to invest in strength training at the moment. What kind of advice would you have for someone in that space? This from a coach. She's just seeking to understand what we ought to do.
I think right now it is such a difficult thing because the healthcare environment is taking a real beating with COVID, I think, around the world. So I think what we're seeing is actually almost a reaction to people in healthcare who have a real purpose to give and to serve. And it's not being respected by people not wanting to get vaccinations. It's not being respected by people who are, sort of protesting outside hospitals. We're not respecting how they have lost their lives or been sick because they were taking care of us. So I think there's a bit of that right now that's just in the medical environment is making things really difficult. If you want to work from home in the medical environment, well, that's a very specialized type of question, because what would you do working remotely? I think I'd need to understand that a little bit more. You know, what would you need to do? What do you want to do from home that is working in the medical environment? But I think right now there might just be a psychological reaction from bosses to in the medical environment to pull everyone close and have everyone together, because the industry is under such pressure.
A lot of pressure. You know, I might just Ronel has been giving us some pretty insights about the strength quest. Yeah, not strength discovery. So Ronel, I'm just going to give you the right to unmute. You want to say a few things about the strength quest? You're saying, you know, just drop a few. Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm busy with children, so that's why I'm clued up with this. So yeah, they say it depends on the child's language abilities, and I think in South Africa
Yes.
that is the problem for us. If the child is really a first language English speaker, it is possible to do the test from 10 to 14 or the quest. But the advice strengths finder can be taken from 14 up onwards, but then the child's language must really be a first language English speaker. So it is a bit of a challenge for us in South Africa on that matter. Innocente, my question regarding the medical people, you know, it's not that they want, I mean, they can only dream of working from home because they can get out of the situation where they are. It's not something that is possible at all. But I'm really trying to look on as a coach, what can I do? It's like I'm also feeling hands bound to make a difference, because they do not have time for anything. But I like what you suggested, you know, just pulling them closer and embracing them in a way, giving them that hug. But it's definitely
Ronel, maybe it's about starting a hashtag on Twitter. I know it sounds silly, but love our medics or something, because I think I'm not in the medical field, but I think it must be so demotivating when you're standing in death and loss. You're holding the hand of that person dying. You don't know them. You don't know their family. You'll never see them, and you're carrying that. So I think really supporting them in being able to absorb the negativity that's with them, because their negativity will be more difficult to carry, because it's affecting their purpose and their meaning, and sort of detracting from that. I'm actually quite passionate about this, but I too feel my hands are quite tied. Like, how do we better support them? You know, maybe it's joining, you know, the education on the anti-vaccine campaigns, help getting the word out there. Let's vaccinate. You know, we've got people not vaccinating because they're scared of needles. Well, if you get COVID, dude, you're going to get a lot of needles. So rather take 2 now rather than later. But yeah, I think care right now would help.
Well, I took my jab. You know, I took my jab. So yeah, and Ronel, keep on keeping strong. Yeah. So we have a lot of people here, but can I just ask a few of you to unmute yourself and just add to this discussion? We're almost rounding up. Lydia, I see you joining. Do you have any questions or comments? Folu, you may just unmute. Chukwemeka, yes, Christiana, yeah, Benson, just unmute yourself, and it won't cost us anything to have your thoughts. Okay. So let's have your thoughts, and then we'll be rounding up shortly. Whilst is there anyone saying something? That means that, Innocent, you seem to have hoodwinked everyone to the point where they are just like, they're speechless. That happened the first time, I had my discussion with you. You were almost like, whoa. Someone says, change right from YouTube. It says, change is constant, they say. Is it possible for my strength report to change as I learn and transform as a person?
So that's a very interesting one. And thank you for the question. I believe your name is Shane, if I'm hearing correctly. So Shane, no, not really, but it's not going to be entirely stagnant either. So firstly, if you've got your 34 strengths, it's unlikely that your number one strength is going to become number 34, or your 32 strength is going to become your number one. What might happen is you might have a bit of a shuffle in the top 5, and then maybe a bit of a shuffle from 6 to 10, but it's going to be the same strengths, just in a different order. The big shift we see, because people go, oh, but I've been through this life transforming thing. The big shift we see is that maturity. So I had a talent for ideation, and I've always had great ideas. Then something huge happens in my life, I get retrenched, and all of a sudden I'm building a consultancy. And people go, but if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have. Well, the strength was there. It just matured in a slightly different way. So no, it's not going to change, but it can mature with your attention to it.
Wow. So, it's almost an hour, and I can't believe how time has just so moved, and time well invested, I must say, and not just even spent. Time well invested. It's always a pleasure, but I just want to talk around this whole thing, around the emerging leader. I want you to drop a very strong statement as to how, if there's anybody listening to this call, how they ought to brace up, for the future, that lies ahead. Okay, but that will be your final thoughts, right? But the question just dropped in now. Good baby, do you want to unmute yourself? Just let's hear your voice. Just unmute yourself and just ask your question. Although you've dropped the question, but it's okay if you want to unmute. Okay, so Bubemi is saying that.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Bubemi.
Yes, it's good to hear from you, and I've been listening very closely. Thank you for the insight you have given us. I would like to appreciate you for that. Moving about my question that I typed out, we have been focusing on our strengths so far, but as an individual, most times distractions tends to take us off our strengths and we lose focus. So how do we ensure we focus on our strengths instead of focusing on things that don't matter? That was my question.
Wonderful. So thank you, Bubemi. That's an incredibly good question. And I think the first thing that I personally find, especially when we've just taken someone through their strengths, is we make sure that they have it up on a post on their wall. I often will give them a cup with their strengths on it. Because what happens is the first thing around distraction is we are taught at school what a distraction is. But actually, when I look at my strengths, I might have other distractions. It might be okay for me to practice ideation because that's a strength. At school, they didn't want me to do that. They wanted me to parrot back to them. So make yourself so aware, keep your strengths and keep meditating and focusing on what are your strengths, how do they help you progress in life. So the first thing around focus is understanding your strengths and how to use them. And then if you're getting to a point where you feel, oh, I'm all over the show and I'm a bit unfocused, I always tell people the story of, imagine you're standing on a ladder in your garage and you're busy working with your hands above your head. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that's quite exhausting for me. Now you're busy fixing something. Your 5 top strings are around your waist. Your next 5 strings are in a toolbox at the bottom of the ladder. And the rest of your strings are pasted against the wall, like they make in those fancy American movies. So when you're getting distracted, then what are the tools on my belt to get me out of this distraction? What are the tools in the toolbox? Because those are easy to get to. What can I use from them to get me out of the distraction? And only if you can't find something there, then you can say, okay, what's against the wall? Because remember, we can cherry pick and weave our strengths together to form new solutions for us. Our strengths work as an orchestra, not as a solo. I hope that helps.
Okay.
Ubeni, does that help, how to focus? Okay.
Yes, it helps a lot. Thanks a lot.
Okay, great.
Post on the wall, focus on what you have and your goals, or focus on your goals and you'll not be distracted. That's some of what I got from what she said.
Awesome. And so be more aware of your strengths. Be more aware of your strengths, and then that way you can apply the strengths effectively. Okay, great. There's Christiana. Christiana, unmute. You could just take on this and talk. All right?
All right. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
And I would like to first acquaint myself with you. I met you first on FD at 50 acceleration program. So when a friend of mine put up this, I was so happy to be on this platform. Awesome. Though I joined it late, and so far so good. I've been able to gather one or two things to tackle some of my issues concerning my area of strength. But my question is this. I have a challenge. I don't know if Miss Innocente has talked about that earlier before I joined. There are some people that are multi-talented. You just find yourself able to fit in every situation you find yourself. So because of this particular, let's say, skill or gifts, I discovered that people in a particular team. And I discovered that unconsciously I outdo myself. I begin to do things that others are supposed to do. And because of that, most people around me will leave their things undone, and they'll be like, oh, Christiana is there. She can do it. She has the strength. So at times I feel depressed. I feel like, oh, I might not becoming, what will I call it, a monopoly or whatever. So it actually breaks me down. Or at times, one of the challenges I have is when I find myself in the team, I discover that I have this perfectionist issue. Okay, if I'm not there, you won't be able to do it the way I want it. So I don't know how to manage this particular challenge. Thank you.
That was quite a mouthful. I think that's a coaching session. I'm not quite sure that that's an easy to fix question, because I would, in order to really help you with that, I'd have to see your strengths profile so that one can look at what's most appropriate for you, because it depends on each person and their strengths. But certainly there are strengths that allow us to be a little bit more commanding, and there are strengths that allow us to want to work a bit more independently. But yes, we'd have to take a look at that. Sorry, I think we're about to run out of time, so it's a bit of a long question.
We're running, yeah. But so Christiana, what she meant about the strength profile, if you've not done your strength assessment, Strength Studio, can you drop the link just so that because some of the questions could be answered just by doing your strength test. So in closing, sorry, Innocente, I know your time is precious. Can you just give us a solid, sound statement around, that beat as to imagine, the Imagine Leader track, just so that anybody listening is bracing up and they are prepared to effect leadership.
Oh, wonderful. So I think don't set young leaders up for failure, because we need more leaders and we need more informal leaders. We don't even need people with the proper title. The whole point of it is that every person is a leader. Every person can help with purpose, meaning, and intrinsic motivation in your organization. So please reach out so that we can support the emerging leaders, get the young people in there, and set them up for success, so that when they rise to leadership, they're better leaders, not just in your business, but in our communities, in their homes, and amongst their families and everyone.
Great. So can we have Coach's banner up? We need to, in case you want to get in touch with her, and I'm sure you just need to get in touch with her. Once you just say you're from Sheye, Olusheye, or Strength Africa, be rest assured. If you make the mistake of saying Taiwo, she's not going to be able to tell you who or what, but it's going to be Olusheye, all right? So our details are there. The password is Olusheye or Strength Africa. So reach out to our guest, Innocente Burger, transformational human capital consultant, strength coach, founder, PerformForward South Africa. All right. So that's her detail. She's on LinkedIn, Facebook. Oh yeah, and we're getting her back on Instagram. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, but yeah,
And
so
then,
just keep.
Yeah. And then also my Performance Cafe YouTube channel. Let's not forget that.
Yes. The Performance Coach YouTube channel. Yes, Performance Coach YouTube channel.
No, Performance Cafe.
Performance Cafe. Let me just type that out.
Sorry,
All
yes,
right.
sorry, I didn't realize it's not on your Performance Cafe YouTube channel.
Performance Cafe. Yeah, so, well, you're going to take your virtual coffee at the Performance Cafe. Yeah.
That's it, every Tuesday and Friday.
Great. I love that. So thank you so much. And I'm sure, okay, so if you all don't even have anything to say, this is a good time to unmute yourself and just say thank you to this awesome, beautiful, outstanding, performing forward coach. Just unmute and say thank you.
Thank
You
you.
know,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you. And on this note,
Thank you.
yes, we're going to be shutting down on the count of 5, thank you, Innocente. 5.
Thank you, Ule.
4,
We'll speak soon.
3,
Bye-bye.
2, 1. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.